Hey everyone, this is Logan with Digital Tabby, and today we're talking about 10 strategies you can use to maximize your Google Ad grant. That means utilizing the entire 10K grant every single month or as close as possible while actually doing it in a way that moves your mission forward. So let's not waste any time and let's get started by taking a look at the 10 strategies we are going to review in this video. So we've got brand, content, building a list, finding donations, finding volunteers, finding job applicants, supporting and promoting events, supporting petitions and issues, generating sales, and of course, promoting your services. Now, you can jump to any one of these using the chapters below. But before we get started on the first one, which are going to be brand campaigns, I want to make sure that you understand this video is about strategy and not tactics. By that, I mean we're taking a look at the high level approach to using these techniques and not going into an ad account and saying, hey, click here. Okay, now click here. Now, if you're looking for more of a tactical how-to video, just let me know in the comments below and I'd be more than happy to put one together, but also let me know which strategy you'd like to see that for. If we did that for all 10 of these, it would be many, many hours long in one video. So with that out of the way, let's get started with branded campaigns. Now, we're starting here because it's pretty straightforward and because it's something that I believe every organization should be doing. This is simple to apply and it's a very fundamental part of reputation management. So in this case, instead of having some weird Yelp review from 5 years ago show up, you can have an ad show up that takes up a lot of space thanks to these site link extensions. And with these site link extensions, you can control which pages people see when they search for your brand. And this example too, we can see that Cat Care Society is taking up a ton of space in this search result. So almost the entire first scrollable part, if not all of it, is just their two properties, their ad and their organic result. Now, besides reputation management, which is the big one here, you've also got the benefit of click-through rate. Branded campaigns have very high click-through rate, and one of the requirements of an ad grant account is that your account has a 5% click-through rate. Typically, that's not a problem. With a well-managed account, not going to be an issue. But if you're just getting started or you've run into any problems, throw in a branded campaign and you're going to see a high click-through rate. In this case, this example for Cat Care Society has a 51.3 click-through rate, which is really going to help the overall account. So I want to look at another example before we move on, and that is one from Feeding America. So you can see right here, we've searched for Feeding America. Here's their ad. Now, the reason I like this ad so much is it highlights how powerful a branded campaign can be for donations. So they've got excellent copy. They've thrown in the phrase official site. That's kind of a nice touch. And you can see they've got site link extensions for donations, several options for how you can help. And that makes sense. When someone's searching for your brand, they're probably looking for ways that you support people or you support your mission. So you want to make sure you're showing them those pages. So that's branded campaigns, simple, powerful, applicable to probably everyone watching this video. So let's move on to something a little more advanced, something with a lot of different options to it, and that's content. So content is a bigger topic. We're going to start by taking a look at exactly what we mean by content. We're going to take a look at an awareness funnel. Then we're going to look at some examples of how you can produce content and what to do with it. So let's start with the simple side of things, and that's simply looking at what we mean by content. So we've got three examples here. One, we've got the search phrase, how long to grieve for a cat, and our friends at Cat Care Society are showing up again with an article that helps support people through this process. Then we've got an organization called Megas. They help gifted math students. So when someone searches for how to help gifted students, they've put together an article that gives them 10 strategies for helping gifted math students, including some of their programs. And then finally, Cat Body Language. We can see several organizations, including other nonprofits, and again, our friends at Cat Care Society. So that's what we mean by content. It could be a lot of different things, but the real benefit is that this is a starting point to a longer relationship. The goal is not to just have them show up, read your content and leave. We're going to talk a lot more about that later, but the goal is to realize that we want to have a positive experience with them, which is going to lead to other things like joining an email list, using your services, attending an event, sharing on social, or of course, donating. So I know that this is really obvious, but it's worth reminding you that people have to know you before they can support you. And content is the starting point of that relationship. And that's actually what a lot of people get mixed up with, is Now we're taking a look at a funnel, and what a lot of people like to do is start at this bottom point of the funnel, and that can work for certain campaigns. But we want to think about our content a little bit differently and focus on meeting people where they're at. And a lot of times where people are at is unaware. They're unaware of who we are, what we do, how we can help, and why they should know about us. And content can help us change that. So let's run through this awareness funnel. So at the very top, we see they're unaware. That's the purple section, and that's somebody in our Project Megas example. Remember, that's an organization that helps gifted math students with special programs. So this person has a gifted student, or maybe they're a teacher, but they want to know how to help gifted math students. That's what they've typed in. Now, our ad grant is letting us show up at the top of that and say, hey, here's an article we put together about how to help gifted students. Now, at this stage, they're aware. And because they've read one of the ways includes a program from this organization, not only are they aware of the organization, in this case, Megas, they're also aware of the program. So they've gone from unaware to aware. And now that they've made this transition from unaware to aware, we can take them to an action, whether that's donate, become an advocate, become a client, sign up for email list. It could be a number of different things. In this case, we'd be wanting them to register for a program. So I think you get it, but let's drive it home with just a couple more examples. And I'm going to try to go through these quickly. And you can pause if you want to read all of these. But the idea here is that the top level is what they're searching. This is when they're unaware. Then this stage is the article that they're seeing to get the information from a particular nonprofit. And then the last section here, the action, these are the different things they could take. And it's worth noting that content, while it does sometimes just have one thing that they can do, often there's multiple actions that we'd want them to move towards. So in this case, you can see if somebody types in black cat personality, that's the search term. They've ended up on an article called Black Cat Personalities and Myths. Then they may be interested in adopting a black cat. Maybe that's why they're learning more about the personality. So that's obviously a mission relevant action for Cat Care Society. Or maybe they just learn more about the shelter and have a positive experience. In this case, Cat Care Society has produced this article. They are sort of a unique shelter. They don't have kennels in the typical sense. It's a free roaming cat shelter is what they're called. So, hey, you learn more about the shelter. When you are ready to adopt a black cat, maybe you want to go to Cat Care Society. Or maybe you simply help this person through education. So black cats there are a lot of myths around them. They have a negative stigma. So if part of your mission is to educate and help cats through education, then an article like this is achieving that. Now, it might not be as exciting for us as receiving a donation with our ad grant, but it's still moving our mission forward. So let's look at one more of these. So let's look at Are Orange Cats Friendly? So 5 facts about orange cats. Again, this person might want to adopt an orange cat. This is an article they might want to share on social, or they might love it so more and you say, hey, we produce these lists of facts all the time. Sign up for our email list. So you can see that there's lots of different options here. So, however, one of the big objections that I hear every time is, well, how can I do this? I don't have a ton of content. I don't have hundreds of articles ready to go. So first off, you don't need hundreds of articles. You really just need a few. And I'm willing to bet that there are some content you can produce very quickly. So these are the 3 things I usually tell people to look for. So first, is there any existing literature that you already share with the public that you could turn into an article or post? So if you're providing services for someone, there's a good chance that you're sending an email about it, follow-up email, or maybe even giving them a handout. Can you turn that into something on your website? If not, then I guarantee that there are common questions about your organization, what you do, how you help, that you answer all the time. Can you turn those into an article? It's not going to work for every organization, but it will work for a lot. And then the benefit there is those questions are actually keywords. Now you throw those into your ad grant account. That's what you're showing up for, and that's what you're directly answering. The last one to consider is actually seeing what you already rank for in Google search. And the best way to do that is with Google Search Console. So what you do is you jump in there, and we'll take a look in a second. You see what you're ranking for. You see what page ranks for. You either produce more content about that, or you just make sure you have an ad to that already existing page. People are already going there. Get more people there, and then make sure you're doing something with that traffic, which we're about to talk about. So I don't want to get too in the weeds with this, but I do want to show you what Google Search Console looks like. So we can see this is for Cat Care Society. And what this is telling us is, hey, these are all the queries or search terms that you ranked for. This is what people actually typed into Google. And then if we click through here, we could see pages. We can see how many clicks and impressions on the right here. And what can we do with this information? Well, we can say, wow, they're showing up for a lot of FELV, FIV related queries. These are specific diseases in cats. So Cat Care could say, people are coming to us for this. Let's make sure that these pages are promoted in our ads to really make sure we're showing up as often as possible. Let's maybe produce more content about this and take it from there. So that is Search Console, and that is a content strategy. The last thing I want to clarify is that we are not about just sending clicks for the sake of sending clicks. While that will utilize a lot of that grant account, we want to do something with these clicks, and that means all of our content should have a meaningful conversion attached to it. It could be as simple as an email opt-in or trying to lead them to donate, but we want to have some kind of conversion with that. And the best one for content is usually that email opt-in, which takes us to our next strategy, which is list building. So list building is exactly what it sounds like. It's collecting information from people who visit your website and building a list from it with the goal of being able to continue that relationship with them. Remember, content is the starting point. List building is how we keep that conversation going and lead them in the direction that we want to go. Okay, so first, let's look at a couple examples of an email opt-in so we're all on the same page. And you've seen these before, but here's an example of one from Search Engine Journal. We see right here on the sidebar. So that's a sidebar opt-in, pretty straightforward, just asking for the email address, and then they're segmenting them a little bit based on what they're interested in. Then we've got one from HSUS. This is at the end of the blog post. So this makes sense. It might not have as high of an opt-in rate as the sidebar, but if you've made it all the way to the end of this blog post, like you would before you see this, you're probably interested in reading more from this particular author. And then we've got one from Dr. Jane Goodall's website. So this is simply a button. When you click that button, you go to a form that you can add your information so they can email you. Okay, so why do we care so much about this? Why do I keep talking about this list or saying it's important to this, that, or the other? Well, here's the reality of what happens when most people go to your site. Okay, so here's that black cat article, right? Debunking common black cat myths. They searched for black cat personality, etc. They get to this article, and honestly, they love it. And not just them, the entire family loves it. As you can see here, they clearly love it. But once they're done reading, like this little cat, they're gone. They're just going to slide out that door, and you're not going to see them again unless you get their email or some other contact information, but email is generally best. So here's how to do this. Again, we're staying at a high level strategy, but this is the overall approach. So you want to add an opt-in to your site. Sidebar is fine. In content is fine, like we saw with HSUS. Throw in a button, whatever you want to do, just get it in there. Give them a good reason to sign up. The more incentive you can, the better, but it could also just be, hey, we write articles like this all the time, or we cover this topic all the time, or we're going to share this with you. Why do you want to sign up for this? Then track how many people sign up in Google Analytics for. Obviously, send that to Google Ads, and then send emails. I've worked with several organizations that have gotten as far as step 3 here. They're getting people signed up, but they aren't actually sending them an email. They're sending maybe 3 emails a year. Use that email list to get donations, promote events, promote everything that you're doing, which again, we're going to talk about that more. So one of the big objections here is, what if I don't have an email list? That's okay. First off, move it to the top of your priorities. You do want to get an email list, but if you don't have one, for now, try to send people to your social media and track those clicks. That's not ideal, but it is a platform in which you should be able to maintain that conversation, or at least get in front of them again. Whatever you're sending them to, whether it's social or something else, the idea is that you want to be able to continue that conversation with them. So have some way to capture their attention moving forward, and also work on your email list, because you definitely want to have that. Okay, now on to the next one, which are donations. So donations can work in grant accounts, but it might not be as straightforward as you think. A lot of times what I see when I take over a grant account is people targeting phrases like donate, or, well, you can't actually do a single keyword, so that's a problem to start with, but donate to charity or nonprofit donate. These are way too broad and really not going to work well in an ad grant account. Instead, you want to get a lot more specific. So in this example, we see donate to cat charity. We see several organizations. Some of these I know are ad grant accounts showing up for that. Then we've got donate for sickle cell. This is another nonprofit, and you can see this is a really good offer to donate. So that's the scenario in which it works, where you're combining the phrase donate and something very specific. It's not super broad. And by broad and competitive, I mean things like donate my car. There's no specific type of organization here, and we can see that every ad is an organization that is all about receiving cars. So this one's specific to veterans. We have 2 veteran car donation programs. So I can tell you right away, this is very competitive. This is very high cost per click. You are unlikely to show up for something as competitive as just donate my car. Even donate car to animal shelter, probably not getting a lot of search volume, and also very competitive. So you've got the opportunity to do donate plus whatever your organization is, but you can also go for things like this. So this is an example of how to stop animal cruelty is the search term. And we can see ASPCA is showing up, stop animal cruelty, ways to stop animal cruelty. But what they're actually doing is just sending people to their donation page. Now, I think this works a little bit better for ASPCA because they are so well known and there's a bit more trust there. Typically, though, you're going to want to send people to a content page where they can learn a bit more about you before they donate. But this is an example of how you can take a term that could have multiple intentions. Again, how to help animal cruelty is how we got here. You could take a term like that and lead them to the path of donations if that's what you want to prioritize. Now, another way of doing this, like I said, using a bit more of a content-heavy approach, is from HSUS here. And you can see I've shortened the page, but they've got information, educational information as far as what's going on with animal cruelty, how they can help, and then they've got the offer for the donate ask here. So that, I think, is a better approach that helps build that relationship and connect with the person before you ask for the donation. However, either can work. And then finally, I want to emphasize how important your list is, whatever list you're building, ideally your email list is, for getting that donation. So realize that people are probably going to need 3 to 7 positive interactions with you before they donate. It's rare that someone's just going to type in, find you for the first time, and start throwing you money. It will happen, but you've got a much better long-term success rate with email. So this is a welcome email from ASPCA. We can see we've got lots of different ways to take action, including that very competitive donate your vehicle or just a cash donation, along with a lot of other options, including several strategies we're looking at in this video. So this just, again, highlights the power of email. So that's donations. There are the straightforward approach, donate plus your organization. And then there's also kind of the higher level approach where it's how to, and you're sending them where you want to go. Now let's take a look at volunteers. So finding volunteers can actually be relatively straightforward, whether it's locally or nationally. And even for more unique roles, you can typically approach it the same way. So I think this search phrase does a great job highlighting how diverse the volunteer results can be, and it's volunteer for kids. So we don't know if this person searching is looking for volunteer opportunities that kids can do, or they want to help kids by volunteering, or maybe some combination thereof. So let's break this down. So again, search phrase volunteer for kids. We're going to take a look at these results. And the first one is an organization that lets you advocate for children. And this is kind of what I would guess when someone searches for this. So opportunities to support children via volunteering. And then you've also got this option here. So what this does is this organization packs meals for children that need them. So kind of unexpected. And also interesting here is children can help. You can see lots of kids helping pack these boxes. So this is one that actually does both of those intents, right? This is for children and also for children to volunteer. Then we've got a third one here, which is an opportunity for kids to color a picture and then send it off to somebody and improve their day. So this is an opportunity for kids to volunteer. So the point of showing you all these 3 options here is that you can find volunteers for your organization. Just use this sort of approach of volunteer for type or group or region, and make sure that the page you send them to, your landing page, explains what you do very clearly. In this case, people will sort by their intent, but they may also find volunteer opportunities they weren't expecting, like this one right here. So that is the approach to volunteering, a bit more straightforward than some of the other ones we've looked at. Okay, next we have jobs. So with jobs, you want to go broad, and there's kind of a tricky art to finding the sweet spot here, but let's look at this example. So our example is wildlife jobs. We can see some of these are absolutely nonprofits, some of them are not, but we also see, and this is the big benefit to using jobs in an ad account, whether grant or otherwise, is that you get to show up above the jobs widget here. So this is the jobs widget. Let's look at the full page. I know that's a little blurry. There we go. So we've got our ads and then our job widget. Now, the key to finding success with the job approach is using like I said, a broad but still specific. So wildlife jobs, great. Nursing jobs, good. Nonprofit jobs, way too broad, not specific enough. You're going to have problems with competition on that one. You're also going to have problems with your click-through rate. What kind of jobs? And then too specific would be biologist jobs. Maybe close enough to nursing jobs. It really comes down to how many of this particular role do you need in your organization? If you have a revolving door of this position, a lot of turnover, or you always need them, then that can work. But the best approach is to use this industry style here, this industry technique, and send people to your job board or your careers page. That's what you're going to find the most success with. Okay, that is jobs. Now let's go to events. So the ad grant account can work really well for events, but you need to have some search volume and you need to have some time. So let's look at an example of where this works. The Foundation for Sickle Cell Disease Research has an annual symposium, basically a medical conference, where they cover new data, new research, new breakthroughs. Now, this is an annual event, so they have lots of time to promote it, and people would be searching either for specifically a sickle cell disease event, but more often they're searching for a medical conference, some CE, continuing education, that type of thing, and this would be relevant for them. So we're able to find people and send them to the registration page. Now, when it doesn't work is a scenario like this. This is an event called Tales of the Painted Cats. It's put on by Cat Care Society, and this is an auction where they make these cat and sometimes dog sculptures, paint them in unique ways, and auction them off. Now, some people might be searching for charity auction, but there's just not enough time. You know, you have such a tight window where someone would be searching for charity auction and then want to attend. So something like this works better via an email list, via social media. And while I do think everyone really should be searching for Marlon Brando cat sculptures, they just aren't. So you can see here, this is their Facebook page, and it works a lot better for promoting an event like this. So events can be straightforward as long as you have some search demand and some time. Okay, next, petitions and issues. So we've got a couple different options here. Again, as we've seen with some of these other strategies, first off, we can go just direct petition against animal cruelty, and we can see that there are several ads showing up here. Now, we can also use our awareness approach and think about this a little bit differently. So at the top level, someone is typing in how to stop puppy mills. They don't know what they're looking for, and you can create an article, how to stop puppy mills, and one of your options, or perhaps your only option, could be sign this petition, and then you get them to take the action. So this is a little easier to understand, I think, because we know that they're kind of unaware of their options because they're specifically searching how to stop puppy mills. So let's take a look at this in action. Again, we know our search phrase, how to stop puppy mills. The first result here, Lady Freethinker, that takes us to a petition page. So this is direct to petition. We've got what the petition is trying to do. We've got an opportunity to sign it, some social proof down here so you can see who else signed this. So what they're doing is Lady Freethinker is saying, hey, I think the best answer for how to stop puppy mills is this petition. Now, another one showing up for this search is best friends. So let's take a look at what they are doing. They're using more of that content approach we've talked about. So they are educating. They're telling you, hey, this is what it is. Here's the problem with it. They're telling you what they do, which is a great opportunity to ask for a donation. And then they've got a lot of different options for you to participate. So you can support local legislation. And of course, you can sign a petition. A couple of those down there do lead to petitions. So you've got two different approaches here. Both of them work. It really depends on what you want to prioritize and what your goal is, whether that's direct to petition or education and sending them some other options, including petitions. Okay, next we've got sales. So if you sell a product online, you can use the grant to promote it. And we can see here, this is the Salvation Army's website where you can get everything you could possibly want in maroon. So let's take a closer look at how this might work. And one thing I want to clarify is that shopping could lead you down the path of needing shopping ads, which is what we're looking at here. And this is not something you can do in a grant account. What you could do is show up in a spot like this. So again, this is our search ad. So if you're getting a lot of great results via a search ad to a shopping campaign, then especially if you're selling products, mugs, shirts, that kind of thing, then you may want to look at a paid account so you can use the shopping campaign type here. But we could also get a little more creative, right? We don't have to just say, hey, t-shirt or this type of t-shirt. And for an example of that, we can look at the search phrase wildlife gifts. So this is another search term where the intent is shopping. There's a purchase behind this, right? Someone wants to purchase these gifts, and we can see World Wildlife Fund showing up for this. Their offer is adopt an animal. And when we get there, we see all kinds of animals that we can symbolically adopt. And we also see these plushies. And that's the thing I wanted to highlight here is it's not just adopt an animal. You're also getting a plushie. You're getting a couple other items with this. And this happened when we click the sloth one, you're getting these suggestions. They're saying, hey, do you like these as well? And I'm saying, yeah, I like these sloth mugs. So this is sort of a roundabout approach to selling products that can work really well for some organizations, and just showing you that it doesn't have to just be a direct search term for a specific product. Now, the one thing I do want to clarify here that catches a lot of people up is make sure that your shop is on your domain or your subdomain. That means no Amazon, Teespring, Redbubble, any of that stuff. And sometimes that can catch people off guard if they get a little mixed up in their domains and they feel like their organization.teespring.com is their domain. It's not. That's a subdomain of Teespring. So just make sure you're doing this and your shop is actually on your domain or your subdomain, or else you will not be able to run it. Okay, last on our list, services. So this one is pretty straightforward. You know your services. You know the terms people are most likely to search for, but we're going to add a little bit of a spin to this and just an extra thing for you to consider. So this is adopt a cat. Obviously, cat care should show up for this, and they are showing up for this for the ad. But what happens when we look at their organic result? And this is going to tie into the ad in just a moment here. So that's what we're looking at. This is where Cat Care Society ranks for the search term cat adoption. And this is if you just look at organic search results. That means not ads, not anything else, just normal everyday Google. So what we see is they rank in position 4. This is their location where this arrow is. This is their best ranking position on average. Then we see they're showing up in position 3 nearby, also very close to where they're located. But as soon as we get a little further out, we see they're in position 20 plus. Now, to clarify, this distance is only about 25 minutes. So it's not a crazy distance, especially to adopt a cat. Down here is just about 30 minutes. But what this is telling us is if we are outside of their little radius, they are pretty much nowhere to be found. People are not going to the 20th position in most cases. So the grant lets us change that by expanding our reach, our location around our business that we're showing up in. In this case, we've gone as far as 100 miles. Now, I'm highlighting this as a more extreme example, and we do believe and have data to support it at this point that people will drive 100 miles if they find a cat online that they really love and they really want to adopt. They will drive. Now, that might not be true for all organizations, so you're just going to have to kind of think through this. But what I want to challenge you to do is push the location boundaries way further than what you would get just through organic rankings alone. So keep that in mind and ask yourself, how far would someone really drive to utilize our services, and give it a shot in the AdGrant account and see what conversions you get. Okay, that was the last one. We've gone through 10 strategies. Now you're probably wondering, okay, where do I start? So now what? So this is the approach I would take with most nonprofit organizations as far as what order you run through these with. This doesn't have to be the only way. If there's one you want to start with, do it. But in general, I'd start with brand and services. They're pretty straightforward to do. Brand is going to give you some easy wins. Then you want to go to volunteers. If your organization utilizes volunteers, seeing them come in through the grant account is going to make an immediate mental impact and help you say, hey, this is working. Then you want to look at content and list building. This can be a little more difficult for many nonprofits, which is why we didn't start here, but it can make a huge impact and start getting you known nationally and not just locally. Then there's donations. We talked about your different strategies here. It can be a little bit trickier, which again is why we didn't start here. But then we've got events, petitions, and sales. These don't make sense for every organization, so I push them down on the list. But if they do apply to you, let's get them set up. And then finally, we've got jobs. So this is another strategy that can be a little difficult to perfect. And for most organizations, it's not at the top of their list of things that they want to do with their grant. So probably the last one you want to think about. And to make this a little bit easier, I've actually put together a flow chart. This is going to appeal to some folks, maybe not as much to others. But the idea here is you can grab this flow chart with a link in the description and then walk through it step by step. So each of the purple diamonds is a question. So in this case, do you have a brand campaign? If no, it's going to take you to this section where it's going to give you some tips on building out that brand campaign. If the answer is yes, then you're going to go to the next purple diamond and so on and so on. Now, the goal here is to help you walk through each one of these. You can zoom in and say, okay, I'm only going to look at this top part until I finish it. But you can see it is a pretty extensive flow chart. We've got a lot of options as it walks through all the different potential strategies. So like I said, if you want to grab that, check the link in the description. Otherwise, leave a comment with any questions, feedback. I'd love to hear it. And thank you very much for watching this video. If you want more videos about nonprofit marketing, whether that's email marketing, promoting your content, and especially the Google Ad Grant, definitely subscribe. I'll be producing a lot more videos over the coming weeks. Have a great day.